Hello, everyone. I'm gonna just give it a few minutes for more people to join and then we'll get started. Okay, can everyone see my screen? You just put a thumbs up in the chat. Thank you. Okay, so before we get started, just let you know this will be recorded. So if you can't stay for the whole thing, I understand. It's going to be recorded and posted on our website. So you can always come back and revisit. Going to start recording. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Brandy Shackelford. I'm the Assistant Director here in the Office of International Education. I'm going to try to go through the PowerPoint as quickly as possible so I can get to you all's questions at the end, and we have enough time for that. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, so some of the things we're going to discuss during this information session is what is OPT, how and when to apply the OPT application, the rules during OPT, the international travel in OPT, and just some practical information in life after OPT. So we are going to cover quite a bit. Okay, so what is OPT? OPT means it's optional practical training. So optional is it's not a required part of your course of study in the US. It's not required per your F1 visa. It's practical, meaning it's out of the classroom work, and it's training, a continuation of your learning experience in the US. So just some fast facts. It is an extension of your F1 visa status. So if you have an F1 visa, you are eligible for OPT. You can do a max of 12 months of employment authorization. You must only find work related to your MICA major. Are you allowed to apply for OPT before you have a job? You do not have to wait to have a position to apply. I recommend you apply as soon as possible. We're going to go through the deadlines so you get an idea of why I recommend that. Okay, if all of the below are true, then you are eligible for OPT. So you've been in F1 status for 2 consecutive semesters. You will have graduated by the time your OPT starts, and you never had OPT before at this degree level. So just to explain that, so if you are a master's student and you had OPT at your bachelor's level, you can have OPT again at the master's level. However, if you are a bachelor's degree student, you've done OPT, and then you decide to do another bachelor's degree, you do not get OPT at the bachelor's level again. Okay, how and when to apply. So how to apply. You're going to assemble the OPT application packet. I'm going to go into more detail about that. You're going to receive your new I-20 from me, and then you're going to submit your application to USCIS and wait for authorization. So spring graduates. So you all should be graduating May 2025. So you should submit your application no more than 90 days before your program end date, which is, I'm sorry, I missed the 19th. It's May 19th of 2025. We use the date of graduation. So the earliest you can send your application is February 19th, 2025, which is today. You may not submit your application more than 60 days after your program end date. So the 60-day deadline is July 19th, 2025. So the best thing to remember is that USCIS, who approves your OPT, could take 3 to 5 months to process your application. So you want to submit as far in advance as you can. Okay, so here is how the deadlines work. So the OPT application opens February 19th, 2025. That's 90 days before your program end date, which is May 19th, 2025. And then you have your 60-day grace period, which is July 19th, 2025. So anywhere between February and July, you can submit your application. However, your start date has to be within that 60-day grace period. So it can be May 20th, the day after graduating. If you already have a job lined up and that's the day you want to pick, you can choose that day. And you can apply and pick that as your start date. However, if you apply May 1st and you want your OPT to start May 20th, it most likely will not be approved by May 20th. Okay, so that means if you wait till July 1st to submit your OPT application, the last day you can pick to start your OPT is July 19th. You're giving yourself 19 days for them to process your application when it takes 3 to 5 months for it to get approved. So keep that in mind. You have to pick a start date for your OPT between May 19th and July 19th. Okay, I'm going to go over the OPT application. All right, so the first step is to have your MICA OPT student request form. This form should be, okay. This form is inside MICA form. You have to fill it out, and then your advisor has to fill it out and sign it, and you bring this with you to your final OPT meeting with me. This form is on our website. This form is printed in our office, and most advisors also have this form and know how to fill out this form. Your academic advisor, not your faculty mentor, your academic advisor, okay? And once you do your student request form, you then have the I-765, that is the government application for OPT. You're going to have copies of your immigration document, past and present, and that will be your passport, your I-20, your visa, and your I-94. I'm going to go through each of those, explain what they need exactly. And then you're also going to need a digital passport photo. And then you're going to have to pay the application fee, which is $470. Okay, so this is what the student request form looks like. You have to fill out the student information side. You're going to have to put in your OPT start date. You have to put in the day you want your OPT to start. And then you have to put your OPT end date. That's usually 12 months from your OPT start date. And then you have to sign. And then on the back of it is where your advisor signs. So your academic advisor should sign your OPT request form before you have your meeting with me. If they do not sign your request form before you have your meeting with me, I cannot give you your OPT I-20. I have to have this form signed by them. Okay, I will tell you your application looks great, but I need this form signed by them before I can send you your I-20. And I will wait until you submit this form with their signature, and then I will email you your OPT I-20. Okay, and as a reminder, you pick your start date. The date must be listed. It cannot be changed after you submit this form. Your OPT start date goes on your I-20. And once I put it on your I-20, I cannot change it. All right, I see some questions coming in. I will answer all questions at the end. Okay, OPT start date. Remember, USCIS takes 3 to 5 months to approve your OPT application. You are not allowed to work until you've received USCIS approval and you received your EAD card. If your start date is reached and you have not received approval from USCIS, your end date will not change. So remember, if you start your application July 1st and the last day you can pick is July 19th, then that means your end date will be July 19th, 2026. That will not change even though they take 3 months to approve your application. That means you've missed 3 months of your OPT waiting on it to be approved. Okay, so consider your international travel plans. Would you like some time off after graduation? Do you want to start working immediately? And have you spoken with any potential employers? So you want to think about all of this when picking your OPT start date. For your international plans, you cannot leave the US after you graduate without being on OPT. They will not let you re-enter. You have to be on OPT to re-enter into the US after you graduate. Okay, so this is the online application form. There's a QR code. It takes you directly to the website. You have to fill out the form I-765, the application for employment authorization. Okay, you can complete this form online only. I no longer do the paper version. A couple of reasons. The online form is easier. I promise you, it's a lot quicker and easier to fill out and understand online than the paper version. Also, if you do the paper version and submit it, it costs more for them to process it. So instead of the $470, I believe it's $550 to process a paper version. So make sure you fill out the online application. Okay, and this is how the online application looks when you enter. You have to enter, you have to create an account. So you're going to have to pick a username, an email address, and a password. But once you do that, you can start filling out the application. So the first question is going to ask you is your eligibility category using the following codes to depending on your OPT type. Most of you all will be student post-completion OPT, not pre-completion. C3B, post-completion OPT is what you want to pick. The next section is going to ask you a reason for applying. You are going to choose initial permission to accept employment. This is your first time applying for OPT under this degree. So it's going to be your initial permission to accept employment. And then you have to fill out if you have filled out the I-765 before. So if you are a master's student and you did OPT for your bachelor's degree, you're going to check yes, because you've done the I-765 before. If this is your first time ever doing OPT, you're going to check no. Okay. Next section, most of it, the application is going to be your general information, things you can answer on your own and that you already know. So it's going to be the About You section. It's going to ask for your name. Your full legal name that is on your passport is what has to go in. Okay, it's going to ask for your current mailing address, and it's going to ask for your current physical address. The address may be the same, however, it also may be different. Right, so your mailing address is where your mail is going to be sent to. Since it takes 3 to 5 months for your EAD card to come in the mail, if you live on campus, you most likely won't have access to that mailbox any longer. So you may want to get your EAD card mailed to a relative's house, a friend's house, someone you trust that will give you your EAD card when they receive it. Your physical address is where you currently live. So if you live on campus, you're going to put your campus address down as your physical address, and then you're going to put your mailing address as whatever address you decide to put down. Okay. The next is going to be your country of citizenship that's listed on your passport, your place of birth that's on your passport, and your immigration status. Everyone should be a current F1 student. Okay, if you are not an F1 student, you cannot apply for OPT. Next slide. So the next section is going to be The immigration section is going to be immigration section, sorry. And they're going to ask for information on your I-94. I'm going to go in and show you how to get your I-94 information as well. So you're going to have to get information from your I-94 once you pull it up. It's going to ask for the date and place of your last arrival into the U.S. It's going to ask for your passport information, so like your passport number. And then after you get through to that, it's going to ask you if you need a social security number or not. If you have a social security number already, you're going to say no, and it's going to skip this section. However, if you do not have a social security number and you need one to work and to get paid in the US, you're going to click yes. And it's going to take you down to a subsection that's going to ask for your parents' information. It's going to ask for their first name and their last name. And then at the bottom of that, it's going to ask for your SEVIS number. Your SEVIS ID number can be found on your current I-20 at the top right of the page. It starts with an N. Okay. So once you fill out all of that information, this is where you're going to have to upload all of your documents. So the first thing you're going to need is a recent color photo. It's going to be a passport type photo. It's going to have to be 2 inches by 2 inches. Even though it's electronic, it has to be within those dimensions. It's going to ask for a copy of your I-94 and your arrival and departure record. I'm going to go more into that later. It's going to ask for your employment document. If you had an EAD card before, you're going to want to upload your past EAD card, a picture of it front and back. If you have not done OPT before, you have never received an EAD card, you're going to want to upload a copy of your passport. The next section is if you have done CPT, an internship, or if you have done OPT before, you need to upload all of those past I-20s. Even if it's from a degree you've done before, you should always keep a copy of those I-20s because they're going to ask for a copy of all the I-20s that gives you CPT and OPT authorization for every position. Okay, and then it's going to ask you for an uploaded copy of your I-20 with OPT authorization. You will receive that I-20 during your final meeting with me. So this section should stay blank. You don't put in your current I-20. That's not the one that they are requesting. It's going to be a new one I give you during your final meeting with me. Okay, so I'm going to go over the packet. I'm going to go over your passport page, your visa, your I-20s with CPT and OPT, and your I-94. Okay, so this is how you get your I-94. If you just go to Google and type in I-94, it's going to be the very first link. It's a government page. And this is the information it's going to ask for. It's going to ask for your first name, last name, your date of birth, your passport number, and then your current passport of issuance. So the country where your passport was issued. Okay, so every person is assigned an I-94 number when they enter in the U.S. So everyone should have an I-94 number. You will receive a new number with every time you travel into the U.S. So if you've got your I-94 before, for say you had to apply for a social security number, they ask for your I-94 as well. If you still have that I-94 and you have traveled again, you cannot use that same I-94. You have to go in and you have to get the most recent I-94. You can only retrieve your I-94 online. And for your OPT, you need your I-94 number. There's 2 pages. So it has your I-94 information, which is going to have like your name, your passport, your birthday, and then you're going to need your travel history. So there's 2 pages. Your travel history is going to list every time you enter and exit out of the U.S. Okay, next slide. This is going to be the photo that you need. So the photo that you need cannot be a used photo. It has to be taken within 30 days. It cannot be the one you use for a passport or your visa recently. It has to be a brand new photo. If they see the photo is the same one that's on your visa or on your passport, they will deny your application. Okay. The photo has to be like a passport photo. So it has to be an off-white background, just a picture of your face, like chest up, with nothing covering your head, a full face frontal view. Yeah, your head must be bare unless you're wearing religious practice wear. And they also have a tool in the application where you can upload your photo and they will size it for you as well. Okay, so a part of the OPT application packet is the payment. So the application is $470. So once you complete everything on the application, you upload all your documents, you have your meeting with me, you get your new I-20, you're going to go to the payment page. It's going to take you to the payment directly after you upload all of your documents. It's going to take you to your payment page, and you can pay by money order, personal check, or credit card. Make sure you have enough money in your account when you process this payment. If the payment does not go through, they're going to cancel your application. They're going to reject it. So you're going to have to do this process all over again. Okay, just some important information. All OPT review meetings with me are via Zoom. They are not in person. The application is online. So it's a lot easier to do it online and have you share your screen with me, and we can go through and we can make real-time updates and edits in Zoom, just in case anything needs to be changed. So when you schedule your meeting with me, do not come in person. We're going to send you back out to go sit in the lobby with your laptop, and we're going to hold the meeting via Zoom. Okay, the I-765 is an online application, and it must be completely filled out except for the OPT I-20. It must be completely filled out before your meeting with me. If it's not filled out before your meeting with me, I will have you reschedule the meeting once you filled it out completely. OPT is a big season for me. I am booked at least 2 weeks in advance for OPT meetings. So if it comes and your application is not filled out, I will have to reschedule it with you and go into my next OPT meeting. Okay? All your documents must be electronic. You cannot hold up a document to the screen and have me read it. They all must be on your computer during your meeting with me so I can review them. Do not, and I stress this, do not submit your OPT application without meeting with me first. If you submit your OPT application with the wrong OPT I-20, they will deny your application. And then you're gonna have to fill it out again, and then you have to pay again. Okay. The final application review meeting is required with me to receive your I-20. Okay, OPT application review meetings must be scheduled. They are not held during walk-in hours. We have walk-in hours 3 times a week, Monday through Wednesday, from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you have quick OPT questions, you can come in and you can ask your question. However, I do not hold OPT meetings during that time. I still want to open to all the other students that may have questions. Okay, I'm very serious about this because as I stated, I get booked pretty quickly during OPT season. So I want to make sure that when you come in, you are fully prepared. So we can go through your application, review it, make any changes, and you can submit as soon as possible. And then I'm going to go to the next slide. Just a quick review. You're going to assemble your OPT packet. You're going to receive your new I-20 from me during our review meeting, and then you're going to submit your application. Okay, make sure you make your appointment to review your application with all of your required documents. We look everything over. I help you review every document. I help you review every line of the I-765. Do not get overwhelmed. Do not think I'm not sure how to fill this out. I'm going to just stop right here. Keep going, fill it out completely as you can on your own. When you meet with me, I'm going to walk through the entire application with you. And then this is just how you schedule your meeting with me. If you want to do like a OPT pre-check meeting, you can. It's not required. You can come in and I can go through how OPT works if you have like detailed, specific questions. like about your job, any jobs you're applying for, anything like that, you can schedule a meeting with me. But your final OPT application review meeting with me is when we sit down on Zoom and go through each document in your entire application. Okay. During your final meeting with me, we'll create your new I-20. That's where I'll put your OPT start date and end date on your I-20. And this I-20 will complete your OPT packet. You must submit your OPT application, the I-765. You must submit that within 30 days of receiving your I-20 from me. So say you didn't do the student request form yet, which is fine. I'm still going to hold your meeting with you. However, I will not give you your I-20 until I get that request form. So you send me the request form. I then email you your OPT I-20. Do not wait to submit it. Sign it, load it into the application, and then submit your application as soon as possible. If you wait 30 days, we're going to have to get a whole new I-20, and you're going to have to complete the packet, the application again, because after 30 days, your application deletes from USCIS. Okay, so submitting application packet to USCIS. Once you get your I-20 from me, usually on Zoom, I make you sign it while I sit on Zoom with you. If you don't sign your I-20 that you received from me, they will also deny your OPT application. Your I-20 is not valid if you do not sign it. You have to sign the first page of your I-20. Okay, so once you get your I-20 from me, you're going to sign it. You're going to submit your application so it's received within those 30 days. Once you submit your application online and you make that payment, you're going to receive an email with your receipt. Make sure you keep the email with your receipt. Second, in about 3 weeks, you're going to receive what's called a notice of action. That is pretty much just the paper receipt. This is going to be sent to your mailing address, not your physical address. So if the two are different, it's going to go to your mailing address. You're going to get mailed a notice of action. It's pretty much just a paper receipt that says that they received your application. Your application is now in pending status. That's all it means. You cannot work until you receive your EAD card. So you can still interview. You can talk to potential employers. You can apply for jobs, internships. You can do all of that, but you cannot physically start working until you receive your EAD card. And be prepared to wait 3 to 5 months for your OPT application to be approved, which is why I recommend you start this process as soon as possible and you submit your application as soon as possible, especially if you already have a job lined up after you graduate. If they want you to start on June 1st, I recommend you submit your application by March. So that way it's approved and you have your EAD card and you can start working by June 1st for your employer. Okay. If you get a request for evidence, so say you submit your application, you get your notice of action, and then they email you, they update your application, they send you something in the mail, they're going to do all three. They're going to ask you for more evidence. That could be anything. If they send you a request for evidence, RFE, let me know immediately so we can make sure you submit all the correct documents that they need so it can be approved. Okay, if there's a problem with your application, USCIS will send you a notice by mail called a request for evidence, RFE. And RFE means that you need to send additional documents before your EAD card can be issued. Those requested documents must be submitted ASAP. And RFE will delay the processing of your application. Let us know immediately if you get one. Send us a copy of the notice and we'll work with you to make sure all the documents are submitted. Sometimes I've had a student where they just wanted a copy of the student's transcripts. It's the U.S. government. Sometimes they just ask for special documents from the student. Okay, so once your OPT is approved, congratulations, you will receive your EAD card in the mail. This is what an EAD card looks like. It's going to have the photo you submitted. It's going to have your name. It's going to have your employment dates. It's going to have your employment start date and your employment end date. Okay, the EAD card stands for Employment Authorization Document. The official name is EAD. Mostly everybody calls it an OPT card though, so the two are the same. You may work once your start date has been reached and you physically have your EAD card. So if you apply, say next week, and you're lucky and you get your EAD card in April, they approve it quickly. You still cannot start working until your start date listed on the card. So if you get your card May 1st, but your start date isn't until July 1st, you cannot start working in the US until July 1st. Okay. I looked at the chat. I know Megan is in there answering some questions. She's from Career Development. She also knows how OPT mostly works. So she may answer some of your questions. Okay. Some rules during OPT. Okay. Types of work on OPT. Make sure none of the work you are doing violates the U.S. labor laws. All work must be done in the U.S. for it to count towards OPT. So you cannot get a job in Canada and work remotely in the US. That's not how it works. All work must be related to your major field at MICA. So every job that you get has to directly relate to what you studied here at MICA. Okay, so the types of work you can do on OPT is paid work, of course. You can do internships on OPT. You can do unpaid work. You can volunteer. You can do commission. You can do freelance. You can do art residencies in the US only. They cannot be in any other country. And you can also have self-employment. So you can start a business if you want. And if you plan to start a business, you have to make sure you have the proper business license. Okay, some more information about the types of work. So freelance work, it does not require a license. Freelance means you're employed by someone else to create something or provide a service. You get an offer in writing that includes the employer's name, the start and end dates of the project. Save this information for your records. All information should be entered into the SEV portal. I'll go into that more later. You could do self-employment. Self-employment requires a business license, which takes time. If you create something and then decide to sell it later to someone who wants to buy the service, the work or service, we have not seen many students do self-employment for OPT. I've seen a few actually start a business and get a business license and work, but I haven't seen it often. Okay, so your basic rules on OPT. You report all changes to the SEVP portal. So once your OPT is approved, you're going to get a link to the OPT portal. In this OPT portal is where you report all of your employment information. You have to report every change in your employment through this portal. It is USCIS, so it's a government portal. Okay. Make sure you have at least 20 hours a week to count for full-time OPT. So full-time for OPT is 20 hours a week, not 40, 20 hours a week. As long as you are fulfilling your 20 hours a week, it stops your unemployment days. Okay. Do you plan to take any classes? Studying during OPT should be purely recreational and not towards another degree, meaning you cannot work and then enroll into another degree under OPT. You have to work under OPT and take regular classes, like maybe you want to take a community class or a skills building class. You can do that. However, you cannot work on OPT and then apply for a master's program and start your master's program while you're on OPT. That's not how it works. Okay. Unemployment during OPT. USCIS specifies that students on OPT should only be unemployed for a total of 90 days during their entire OPT session. So that means you have 90 days of unemployment for your entire 12 months of OPT. That means that the days you are unemployed throughout your OPT will add up. So if you are freelance, say you get a freelance opportunity from July 1st to September 1st. So you're working for pretty much 2 months. Once that freelance ends, that end date comes, and you do not get another freelance opportunity until October 1st, that means you have used 30 days of your unemployment days. So you only have 60 days left of unemployment throughout your entire 12 months of OPT. Okay, the Department of Homeland Security tracks your unemployment days. They will terminate your F1 status if you are unemployed for more than 90 days during your 12 months of OPT. So you have to make sure you go in and you update that portal anytime your position changes, anytime you get a new job, or anytime you're, unfortunately, if you're laid off or you decide to quit, you have to go in and update that portal immediately. They give you within 10 days to update that portal. So say you're having you did your freelance and the job ends and you start another freelance position immediately after, but you do not put that in the portal. They are going to start counting your unemployment days. So you want to make sure that you go in and add that new employer as soon as possible so it can stop the clock on your unemployment days. Working 20 hours a week, those days count as unemployment. So if you have a job where you're only working 10 hours a week, unfortunately, that still counts as an unemployment day. You have to do 20 hours each week. And then I'm going to go on to some more information. This is more information about the portal. Around your OPT start date, you will receive an email with access to the SEVP portal. You are responsible for keeping track of your unemployment dates. I can go in and I can update information. I can change it. However, you are responsible for keeping track. If you exceed your unemployment days, you are responsible for leaving the U.S. or changing your status accordingly. So I don't get a notice if you reach your 90 unemployment days and they terminate your status. They don't give me a notice. I would never know. However, when you log into your portal, they will tell you. So that means you are responsible for going in and checking your status, and you're responsible to see if they have terminated your status, then you have to leave the U.S. They usually, unfortunately, only give you 15 days to leave the U.S. if your status is terminated. Okay, so you are responsible for reporting any employment or personal changes to the SEV portal. International education, we are not responsible for keeping track of your unemployment days or making sure that you're reporting your employment and personal information. Okay, so report your information to avoid termination of your F1 status. You are required to report your employment information. Employers' information must be updated on the SEVP OPT portal within 10 days of any changes. Okay, so the information you have to add to the portal is your employer's name, your employer's address, your employment start date, your employer end date, when known. So if you don't know your end date, you can just leave it blank, but you have to put your start date, the number of hours you work per week, and you have to add a description of the your job and how it relates to your MICA studies. They do not ask for any paperwork. You do not have to submit any type of paperwork during your first year of OPT. It's different for STEM OPT. That's a whole different subject. This is just for the basic 12 months of OPT. You do not have to submit any paperwork. They're not going to ask for a copy of your letter, your employment letter, or anything from your employer. You just have to go in and you have to submit the information. Okay, personal information, the same applies. Within 10 days, you have to update if your phone number changes, if your personal email address changes, if your personal address changes. You have to go in and you have to update all of this information on your own. As I stated, they like to email and mail things. So if you don't update your mailing address, things are going to get sent to your old mailing address. So say, unfortunately, you lose your EAD card and you have to apply for another one. You have to make sure you update your mailing address, because they're going to send it to your old mailing address, and then you have to figure out how to get that new EAD card. Okay, so international travel during OPT. If you plan to travel, your F1 visa must be valid when you re-enter the US. It is difficult to renew your F1 visa during or after graduation. It is not recommended. So, if your visa expires May 2025 and you apply for OPT, your OPT gets approved, but your visa has expired. You can leave the US, but if you leave the US, you have to get it renewed before you re-enter. So you don't have to do it in your home country. You can go pretty much to any other country and try to get it renewed. However, there's always a risk that they may say we cannot renew your visa because you're on OPT, and OPT is optional. It is not required. So they may not renew it, and you may not be able to re-enter the US. Okay? However, you can stay in the US on an expired F1 visa if you are on OPT. Like I said, OPT is an extension of your visa. So if you're on OPT and you have your EAD card, you can stay in the US on an expired visa. You cannot travel outside of the US. You can travel anywhere within the US 50 states. However, you cannot travel outside. So say you want to take a trip somewhere, Hawaii. Say you want to go to Hawaii. Hawaii is a state. You can go to Hawaii. However, if you have a layover in any country coming back to the US, say you go to Hawaii and you have a layover in Mexico, your visa is expired. They will not let you re-enter. Now, if you have a direct flight from, say, California to Hawaii, and Hawaii back to California, then you're fine. Okay. So before OPT is approved, before MICA classes end, you should be okay. You can travel in and outside of the US while classes are still in session before you graduate. Okay, you bring all the necessary documents that you usually bring when traveling, your visa, your passport, your I-20 with a travel signature. After graduation, if you want to travel exactly immediately after your graduation, but you already submitted your OPT application, you cannot travel while your OPT application is pending. You have to stay in the US until your OPT is approved. Okay, so if you travel while your OPT application is pending, they will cancel your OPT application. They will see that you left the US and they were thinking, oh, they already left, they no longer need OPT. We're going to cancel it. You will not receive your $470 back. You will have to apply for OPT again if you're lucky, but most likely you won't be able to. You won't be able to re-enter the US. So if you want to travel on OPT, here are the things that you need. You need to bring with you your passport valid 6 months into the future. You can bring your valid F1 visa. So if your visa is still valid and it hasn't expired, you can still use it to travel. You will also need to bring with you your I-20 with a valid travel signature. You have to bring your EAD card with you as well. And you will have to bring a job offer letter. That is required. They have to have proof that you are physically working in the US to re-enter the US if you decide to travel on OPT. If you do not have a job offer, international travel is risky. Re-entry may be denied at the US border if you're not able to present proof of OPT employment. So we don't recommend you travel until your OPT is approved, you have your EAD card, and you have a job offer letter. So you don't even technically have to be working yet. But if you have a job offer letter that shows, oh, they're coming back to start their job on August 1st, you shouldn't have an issue re-entering in the US. Okay. Just some practical information about OPT and life after OPT. Your driver's license. If you already have a driver's license, most likely it will expire when you graduate. So unfortunately, if that is the case, you may have to apply for a driver's license again after your OPT is approved, because they're not going to reissue a driver's license until you have your valid EAD card. Social Security numbers, if you don't have a Social Security number and didn't apply for one through your OPT application, you may apply for one before you get a job or after you receive your EAD card. I usually tell students to apply for a Social Security number in the application. It's a lot easier. That's a lot less hassle. Taxes, don't forget, you must file your taxes even if you have not earned money. Tax forms are due on April 15th of each year. So if you do your 12 months of OPT and you plan on leaving the country, you still have to file taxes because you worked in the U.S. during your 12 months of OPT. Health insurance, after you graduate, you will no longer be eligible for MICA's health insurance. You should sign up for an insurance plan on your own. There's the Affordable Care Act. Resident alien F1 visa holders can apply for it. There's also other options out there. The service MICA use for their student health insurance, you can pay for that on your own. You just won't get the student rate anymore, unfortunately. But most employers offer you health insurance through their company. So that's the best way to get health insurance. If you, after OPT, if you work throughout your OPT and do not reach your 90 days of unemployment, after you leave, you must leave within 60 days of your OPT end date. You're not allowed to work or study during these 60 days. You may, however, travel throughout the U.S. However, once you leave the U.S., you cannot re-enter. If you plan to study after your OPT, we can transfer your I-20 to your new school. You just have to let us know. We can only transfer your I-20 up to 60 days after your OPT is completed. So you have to let us know as soon as you know that you plan on going to a new school or starting a new program so we can transfer your I-20 to them before the 60-day is over. Once the 60 days are over, you will need to get a new SEVIS ID and a new I-20 from your new school, which means you then have to pay the SEVIS fee again. And then you have to leave the U.S. and re-enter on that new I-20. If you want to avoid all that hassle, just let us know and we can transfer your I-20 to the new school in time. Okay, if you're an animation or graphic design major, before the end of your first year of OPT, you have to let us know that you want to apply for your STEM OPT. So you get an additional 24 months of OPT. However, like I said, you have to let us know that you want to apply for it before the end date of your OPT. So you don't get the 60-day grace period. You have to let us know before your OPT ends that you want to apply for STEM OPT. Okay. If you are being sponsored for the H-1B work visa, then you will work with your employer and the immigration lawyers to change your immigration status. That usually doesn't have too much to do with us. If you get the H-1B work visa, your status in the system automatically updates. So we don't have to go into SEVP to change it. It automatically goes from F1 to H-1B. The same if you're applying for any other type of visa. The K, the most known one at MICA is the O1 visa or the TN visa. Make sure you start the process early and work with the immigration lawyer to apply for these types of visas. Okay, if you work throughout your OPT and you reach your 90 days of unemployment, you must be prepared to leave the U.S. If you apply for a new program in the U.S., and your OPT was terminated because of the 90 days, then unfortunately we can no longer transfer your I-20. You have to arrange to get a new I-20 from your new program. You will need a new SEVIS ID and you will need to pay the SEVIS fee again. Okay. I'm actually going to have Megan come on and talk about InnerStride. This is new, so she may have more information about it. Megan, are you there?
I'm not unmuted though. Hi, I'm here, folks. Hi, Megan Zink-Denham from the Career Development Office. InnerStride is a really amazing tool that Career Development and International Education have signed on for you all. It was made by an international student or in a group of international students who realized that there is not a platform, or there wasn't until now, a platform to really support international students who are trying to stay in the US. You all have access to this for free using your MICA login. You should be able to access the system. And you also have access to this after you graduate. But remember that you lose your MICA email after you graduate, within 30 days of graduation. So you will be able to like still apply or access the system, but you'll have to use a non-MICA email address at that time. But it has a job board. There are tons of webinars. They're live and also recorded webinars. I just went to one last week with an immigration attorney that was just answering any question that was presented to him about any immigration related case or situation. A lot of it was H-1B related, OPT related, CPT related, anything that you can think of. So it is a really great resource. You can also research employers that are sponsoring H-1B visas. But then we also know the H-1B lottery is a lottery and it is not a guaranteed visa. So there are other visa options available to you, like the O1 visa is one that a lot of artists go for and entertainers. So they have a lot of webinars and resources about those different types of visas, like the backup plans for the H-1B and things to do after OPT. So I would definitely check it out and utilize it because it is a really great platform.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
So there is a QR code here that I put that's going to take you directly to the InnerStride website through MICA. So you'll have to use your MICA student login. Okay. And I think that's it. Yes, that's it. So I'm going to go through the chat and see if there are any questions Megan didn't answer, and I'll answer them for you. I'll just start with the most recent. Do we have access to InnerStride post-graduation? Yes. You just have to let us know your new email address, correct, Megan? So that way you can log in.
Yes. Are you, sorry, I was typing. Are you
Oh,
answering the InnerStride
yes.
question?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so after you lose your MICA email address, you can just sign in the same place using a non-MICA email. It's going to come back to career development, like because it's pending, you need to be approved to use the system, and that we check that every day. So there might just be a little lag while you're getting approved to use the system.
Okay, and then I'll go up. Do jobs or internships on OPT or STEM OPT need sponsorship from employers? So STEM OPT and OPT are two different application types. So your first year of OPT, you do not need any type of sponsorship, any employment information from your employers, any, like I said, documentation, anything like that for your first 12 months of OPT. It's really just you reporting your employer's information. However, on STEM OPT, there is a contract called the I-983. I'm not going to go into too much information about STEM OPT, but that is a contract between you and your employer. They do not sponsor you, but they do have information that they need to fill out in a contract that they need to sign that needs to be submitted when you apply for STEM OPT. Okay, the next question, is the travel situation during OPT the same for the 3 years of OPT? So you're talking about STEM OPT. So if you have STEM OPT, I recommend that you actually renew your visa. If your visa expires while you're on STEM OPT, that mostly gets approved because that's the actual 24 months. The travel situation is the same. You will receive a new EAD card when you apply for STEM OPT, a new I-20 as well, and you still have to carry information from your employer while traveling on STEM OPT. Okay, before that, I think Megan answered all of your questions. Yes.
There were a couple questions at the beginning. Could you clarify like who is eligible for STEM OPT at MICA?
So only graphic design and animation majors. That's it. If your major on your I-20 is not listed as graphic design or digital communications or animation, you're not eligible for STEM OPT. We only have two programs that are.
Does that only include the undergraduate graphic design program, or is it all three, like the MA, the MFA, and the
All
B?
three. All
Okay.
three. Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you see it because, for example, if my OPT ends in June, but my new school starts in September, can I still get the service number transferred? Like,
Yes,
let's say if I,
as long as you let us know. Usually the school would want it transferred right after your OPT ends. Like we do this all the time, so this isn't anything new.
as long as I got an offer before.
Yes. So as long as you get your offer before and you let us know that your I-20 needs to be transferred, we can do it once your OPT ends. And the new school will most likely hurry up and give you your new I-20 before like the
The
60
program
days are
start.
up. Yes.
Okay.
So we work pretty closely. It's organized chaos really with international office workers and I-20s being transferred, especially on OPT. Let me see any other questions. Do we only have to upload I-20s, which we had OPT and CPT on, or all we received? You only have to upload the ones that have OPT and CPT. No other ones. That's it. If I graduated from MICA graphic design for BFA and MFA, can I use my STEAM twice? So you can only do it right after you complete your first year of OPT. So if you got graphic design for a BFA, you do your first year of OPT, then immediately you have to do your STEM OPT. And then you go on to your master's, and then you do your first year of master's, and then you use your master's STEM OPT. So yes, you can use it twice, but only after you complete each degree. If that makes sense. When can we apply for the OPT appointment? You can do it now. You can go in and schedule your appointment as soon as you think you'll be able to complete the I-765 and prepare your documents. I answered her question. For STEM OPT, should we apply for that now or after? STEM OPT is after your first year of OPT. So don't worry about STEM OPT at all. In your final review meeting, if you are eligible for STEM, I will let you know when you should come back to us for STEM. OPT students request now, should we put the 1 year end date if we are STEM? Yes. STEM OPT is a completely different application. So for your first year of OPT, you're going to put your start date and 12 months after your end date. For your end date. You're not going to count the additional 2 years or 24 months. What are the rules about international travel as freelancer with no job offer? I don't recommend you travel unless you have a job offer. If you're freelance, make sure you have a contract with another employer before you leave the US. So when you come back in, you can show I have a job schedule that I need to begin to re-enter into the US. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to make an appointment on Calendly and it says like the OPT application review appointment. So by the time we get to the appointment, all we need to do is just get the student request form from our advisors and then fill out the form for the I-765. But we don't need like copies of immigration documents or like passports or anything else, right?
No, you need all of your documents because all of your documents have to be uploaded into the I-765.
Okay, so like all of that. Oh, I see. So like, because I was looking at the slides from earlier, I took like a screenshot and like
Mhm.
underneath the orange, it says like USCIS form I-765. So copies of immigration documents, passport, biographical page, I-20 visa, I-94 number, passport size photos, and the application fee. Those are all things that we need to bring before the appointment. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The
Okay,
only
cool.
thing you should not have on your appointment is your OPT I-20. That's the one you will receive from me during your appointment. But
Okay, cool.
everything else needs to be filled out and you need to have all of your documents.
Cool. And then I'm looking at the form right now for the OPT like student request form. And then at the very bottom, it asks for like an international education verification. Is that also something that you could do for us during the appointment?
Yes, I do that during the appointment.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Um, if my OPT end date is July 1st, how long in advance should we apply for STEM OPT? Before July 1st. Anytime before July 1st, I recommend 3 months in advance. The same 90 days is when it opens. So it would be what, May 1st, is when the STEM OPT application will open for you. That's when I recommend you apply because it still takes 3 to 5 months for your OPT to be approved. So you want to apply as soon as possible. I see the OPT app. Okay. Can you go over the timelines when the OPT should start and when we should apply? I recommend applying as soon as possible because it takes 3 to 5 months to approve, especially before you get to your midterms and final exams or midterms or projects. Do it before you reach all of that, because then you'll get lost in that, and then you're going to come to me after graduation, want to apply for OPT, which is fine. We could do that. However, it's going to take most likely 5 months for it to get approved. And so you're going to have to sit in the US and wait without working for those 5 months. So I recommend you start as soon as possible.
Yeah, I have a question about that. I think that was another thing I just wanted to clarify, and I feel like I clarify this with you every year, but so students, can they start on May 19th or is it May 20th that OPT would technically start? Because
May 20th would be technically when it would start.
Okay. So like you can apply now to say I'm going to start anytime between May 20th and July 19th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in the past, like what we have recommended to students, at least from a career development perspective, is if you know you don't have anything lined up yet, or you're still trying to figure out those employment plans, you can still apply now and give yourself that entire window of time to find something. So you could say, I am applying now, but my OPT is not going to start until July 19th. Or you could say like July 10th or whatever you want it to be.
Yes.
But then
absolutely.
That way you're giving yourself a buffer for A, finding the thing that's going to keep you here, and then two, not like accruing any unemployment time, but then you also have to deal with the government processing time because that is completely unexpected and not at all controlled by MICA. So like give yourself that runway of time to find the thing.
Yes, I usually recommend that as well. Usually in your our individual OPT meetings, I ask if you have started looking, if you started applying yet. If you say no, I usually recommend you push it to the furthest date possible. That way to just give yourself time. Also, if you want to relax after graduating, that is absolutely okay if you want to relax. So I say if you want to push back, you can push back all the way to July 19th and still apply next week if you want, just to give yourself ample time to make sure the government, because that's the problem here, is the government takes their entire 5 months to approve your application. So if you want to do that, you can. I recommend it as well as Megan. So if that's something you want to do, I support it. Sorry, I'm trying to see the question that I left off at. Can we freelance on the side if we have a full-time job? Yes, you can. You can have more than one job on OPT. Your first year of OPT, you can have more than one job. If you want to freelance, if you want to do commission on the side of having a full-time job where you do your 20 hours a week, you can absolutely do that. You just have to make sure you update the portal. There's no limit on the amount of work you can do in the week. Don't stress yourself out trying to overwork yourself. But as long as you're meeting that 20 hours a week, you can do as many jobs as you like. Also, the 20 hours a week can be added. So if you have one job that's 10 hours a week and another job that's 10 hours a week, that gives you your full 20 hours a week. So if I don't have an I-20 with CPT or OPT, I don't have to bring it. Yes, if you have never done CPT or OPT, then that section would stay blank and you do not have to bring those I-20s. What's the employment window during the 2 years of STEM OPT? Thank you. Unemployment. Unemployment for STEM OPT, like I said, I don't want to get too much into STEM OPT because it's a lot more complicated. To apply for STEM OPT, you have to have a job. You cannot apply for STEM OPT without a job. It cannot be freelance. It cannot be commission. It cannot be contract. It has to be a bona fide, full-time, 20 hours a week type of job for a U.S. company. And with that, they only give you 45 days of unemployment on STEM OPT. That's it. Now, if you don't use any of your 90 days on your first year, those do roll over into your STEM OPT. So you get the 90 plus the 45. However, if you use all of your 90 days, then you are stuck with just 45 days for your entire 2 years of STEM OPT. With the current government administration and layoffs, should we assume a 3 to 5 months window turnaround? Yes, even without all of this, it was still 3 to 5 months. And unfortunately, sometimes it's longer. Everyone usually graduates around this time and everyone's applying for OPT. So the dates extend well past August sometimes, unfortunately. So US government, they like to take their time with turning things around. How do the 20 hours gets measured when you're freelancing? That's up to you. If your job requires 20 hours a week while you're freelancing, then that covers it. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. You have to report that information in the portal. So when you go to the portal, you have to click how many hours a week you're working for that position. So that's completely up to you and the contract you fill out with your employer. I know some students teach after they graduate. They teach painting classes, illustration classes, and sometimes they say, oh, I'm only teaching 3 classes. That's only 10 hours a week. However, as a teacher, you're most likely doing more than 20 hours a week with all the added administration and lesson plans and grading and everything else. So that usually covers the full 20 hours a week. When you re-enter the US while on OPT, did you need valid unexpired F1 visa? Yes. Or was your OPT status enough for? No. You have to have a valid F1 visa to re-enter the US on any time, not even just on OPT. Anytime. Your visa has to be valid to re-enter the US. Your visa has to be valid and your I-20 has to be valid. It's just on OPT, instead of it kind of falling on my office, it falls on you because you're in charge of your OPT. Right? That's all the questions in the chat. Anybody else want to unmute themselves and ask questions? Feel free.
I have like 2 more questions that are like more minute, but for the photo, it could just be like, it doesn't have to be like professionally taken, right? It could just be like any photo. It just has to be 2 by 2.
Yes, you can take it yourself on your phone at home as long as it's a white wall and it's 2 by 2. It
Okay,
doesn't
cool.
have to be professional at all.
All right, and then the last question I have is like I'm still like a little confused on like the 3 to 5 month thing. So like if I'm choosing to, let's say, like start like May 20th and I apply like tomorrow, like for example, then that's like 3 months. So then like so like if let's say if I say like May 20th, but then my Visa card thing doesn't get here by like in 5 months, then I still have to hypothetically wait until July to start, even though my start date I wrote down as May 20th. Is that how it works?
Yes, that's how it works. Unfortunately,
Okay.
that's how it works. But most likely, if you plan on start working May 20th, which is rare, no student usually
Yeah,
plans
right,
on
right.
that. But if that is your plan and
Uh-huh.
you apply in February, most likely your OPT will be approved before May 20th. They don't
Uh,
get too many applications like in February or early March. Most applications start going in the end of March and around April. And usually that time is when it starts pushing at full 3 to 5 months.
okay, okay, cool. That's good to know. All right, thank you. That's
You're
all.
welcome. Anyone else? Feel free to unmute. That's it. Okay. Megan, thank you. She put the link in the chat to schedule your OPT meetings with me. As I stated, make sure all your information and everything is done for your OPT meeting. So that way we can submit it in as soon as possible. Other than that, I'll stay on a little bit longer to see if there's any stragglers that may have questions. Like I said, this was recorded. It will be posted on the website, most likely Friday. When our student worker comes in, she can upload it on our webpage for you guys.
I guess if there aren't any questions right at this current moment, I just wanted to chime in and remind you all that career development is here even after graduation to assist you all with what we can on the career development side of things. So helping you prepare for applying for those things, searching for jobs, internships, volunteer work, freelance work, whatever that might be, we can help you prepare for those things. So just let us know if you need us. I did put our Calendly link in there. So it is available if you need us, but I know it all sounds really, really overwhelming. This recording will be there for you all, so you don't feel like you have to have all of this memorized and remember it all right now. I listen to this every year and I learn something different and something new. So but you have support. So Brandy and her colleagues are here to support you. They know this backwards and forwards, and they are there to answer your questions. So seek them out, ask the questions. Don't try to do it on your own because it's a ridiculous process, and we understand that. So you have the support that you need here. Just let us know how we can help you.
Yes, and feel free to stop by. Like I said, I don't do OPT meetings, but if you have a quick question about OPT, if you want me to look at a document for you, come in during walking hours and I will gladly help you with anything you need help with regarding OPT. If you want to sit down one-on-one and have me talk you through the OPT application outside of this information session, I can do that. You can schedule a meeting like the pre-OPT meeting, or you can stop in during walking hours and I'll gladly do that for any of you. So just remember, you kind of got to do the application on your own. But if you want to stop in and ask questions, we're here to help. So don't feel too daunting. And honestly, once you get into it and you start the application, like I said, it's mostly information that you know. The thing that takes the longest is preparing your documents. That's it. Okay. Also, just a reminder, in our newsletter last week, there is a link to request access to the OPT Canvas course. I usually give you access once a week, usually on Wednesdays. So make sure to go look at our newsletter so you can request access to the OPT Canvas course. It's kind of like this, but it goes into a lot more detail and walks you through the entire OPT application, step by step. So if you want access to that, you can email us at internationaleducation.edu, at mica.edu, and we can give you access. So don't forget about that as well. That's another resource for you. So if you don't want to stop in or make an appointment with me, you can always use the OPT Canvas course. The OPT. Oh, I might not have opened it yet. I'll open it today. I usually don't open the pre-OPT appointment meetings until after the info session. Any other questions? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Megan, for coming. Also, I don't know if everyone's graduating this semester. If you aren't, me and Megan are holding a CPT info session on February 28th at 12 p.m. So y'all are all welcome to that as well. That's for internships for F1 students. That's only if you're not graduating this semester, though. If you're graduating, you can't do CPT.